Good evening! It's dark, but it's time! Tonight we're going to play Book 5 of the Lone Wolf Kai series by Joe Dever, Shadow on the Sand. So let's start with the story so far. You are Lone Wolf, the last of the Kai Lords of Summerland, the sole survivor of the massacre that destroyed this warrior order during an invasion of your beloved homeland by Dark Lord Zagarna of Elgedad in MS 5050. It is now midwinter of MS 5055, and a mantle of snow lies knee-deep in the streets of Holmgard. You are summoned from your monastery in the hills by a royal messenger bearing a scroll, signed and sealed by the hand of King Ulnar V. You are surprised to read the king's message, for it is a request for your help in solving an urgent problem that he describes as being of great diplomatic importance. It seems a somewhat unusual request to make of a warrior Kai, whose skills are better suited to the field of battle than to parleying with foreign envoys. However, dutifully you obey the summons, and upon your arrival at the King's Citadel in Holmgard, all is made clear. The Zakan of Vassagonia, the imperial ruler of this desert empire, has sent his most trusted envoy to Summerland to seek a treaty of peace between your two countries. The Zakan has especially asked that you be the one who signs the treaty on behalf of your country. The reason for this soon becomes apparent. Less than a year ago, a renegade noble from Vassagonia called Baraka led his army of bandits in an attack upon the remote Landing province of Ruanon. This mining town and much of the surrounding land was overrun and destroyed. Many Landing lost their lives, and many more were enslaved and forced to labor in the mines of the Macan Range. When the regular convoy from Ruanon failed to arrive at the capital, King Ulnar sent you to investigate. A great battle ensued in which you defeated Baraka in mortal combat. Had it not been for your courage and skill, the safety of Summerland and all of the last lands would have been placed in grave peril by Baraka's evil plans. Your Majesty, the Zakan is gravely embarrassed by Baraka's foul treachery. He is most anxious that our valued friendship and trust be restored. He begs that you send the Kai warrior, Lone Wolf, to sign a treaty of peace with him at the Grand Palace in Barakish. Whimpers the Zakan's emissary as he kneels subserviently at the feet of King Ulnar. The king rises from his throne, barely able to conceal his distaste for the fawning envoy. He turns his gaze to you and bids you follow him to the privacy of an antechamber. I have no liking for this desert realm, Lone Wolf, but I like the prospect of war even less. The Zakan is old and frail and has no son to accede to his throne when he dies. Baraka was but one of many ruthless nobles who wait like jackals for the chance to seize power. I fear they have grown too impatient to allow the Zakan to die a natural death. The treaty may not guarantee peace with Vassagonia once the Zakan has passed away, but it will at least buy us precious time to strengthen our southern defenses. The king leads you to a window and points toward the arbor, barely visible through the flurries of falling snow. A Vassagonian galley is moored at the arbor wall. Go to Vassagonia, Lone Wolf. Sign the treaty and return quickly. Even though the Zakan promises us peace, I fear the shadow of war may descend upon us before the year is out. You wave farewell to Holmgard on this bleak midwinter's day, hoping to return in time to see the spring thaw. But as you watch the spires of Holmgard fade from sight amidst the falling snow, you are blissfully unaware of the perils that await you in distant Vassagonia. So the rules, or rather the homebrew rules for this game, just like the previous ones, will be if we die, we go back to a previous choice and take another choice. If we die again, we go back again, take another choice until there are no other choices available. If we die in battle and there's a flee option, we're going to take the flee option instead. If there's no flee option, and no way to go back to a previous option, then we're going to skip the fight, just like if we had won the fight, just so that we won't be here tomorrow morning playing this game. As usual, also, the previous adventures, I've already selected some of the things that we have to select at the beginning, like new Kai discipline. So the choice for tonight for Shadow on the Sand will be Mind over Matter. Unless someone has another option to suggest. But the only two Kai disciplines left are Mind over Matter and Animal Kinship. So the leftover will be Animal Kinship. We're able also to take Golden Crowns, but we already have the maximum, which is 50. And we could take also 6 items, most are weapons. So for nostalgia's sake, I took our trusty axe. That isn't really useful actually so far in the adventure. But that's the first weapon that Lone Wolf had in the first book, so keeping the axe. Instead of the spear that we had in the previous adventure. Found, I think, one of the bandits in the mines. And I took the opportunity to fill our backpack with two more items. 1 meal and a potion of Flum Spear. And that's pretty much all the options that we had. We already had a shield. And the other options were weapons or a meal. So, not really many options here, in truth. So that's what it is. We also gain a new rank. We're now Savant instead of Barmarn. And after that adventure, we should level up or rank up to the rank of Kai Master and be able to master all the Kai disciplines, including Animal Kinship, in the next book. So before we begin, a little Kai Wisdom. Your mission is one of peaceful diplomacy, but beware! The desert empire of Vassagonia has a notorious reputation for being a land of deceit and treachery. Be on your guard at all times. Make notes as you progress, as you will find it will be of great help in this and in future adventures. Many items that you find will aid you during your adventure. Some special items will also be of use in future Lone Wolf adventures, but others may be red herrings of no real use at all. So try to be selective in what you decide to keep. If this is your first Lone Wolf adventure, choose your Kai disciplines with care. A wise choice and a great deal of courage should enable anyone to complete both parts of this adventure, no matter how weak their initial combat skill and endurance point score may be. Successful completion of previous Lone Wolf adventures, although an advantage, are not essential for the completion of this book. May the spirits of your Kai Masters guide you on your perilous adventure. For Summerlon and the Kai. Shadow on the Sand, Section 1, Part 1. It's a lengthier book than the books 2 to 4. There are actually 50 more sections, I think. Yep, 50 more sections. So I guess it will take maybe a good half an hour more than usual to get through. And it's a 2-part adventure. So alright, section 1. For 25 days, the Vassagonian galley sails a steady course for its home port of Barakish, with only the briefest of stops at the Duranese Arbor of Port Bax, to break a safe but monotonous voyage. You use your time aboard the ship to good purpose, learning the Vassagonian language from the ship's crew. They're eager to teach you, asking only in return that you tell them tales of your adventures in the last lands. For many of the sailors, these are the most exciting stories they have ever heard. By the time you reach Barakish, you have both mastered the language and won their deep respect. It is early afternoon, when the ramparts of the desert capital are first sighted on the horizon. You push your way through the cheering crew and join the envoy at the prow of the ship. Beaming with pride, he hands you a telescope and invites you to view the land of his birth. The sight is breathtaking. You stare with fascination at the golden domes, the minarets, and green-tiled roofs that are shimmering beneath the hot desert sun, and you marvel at the splendor of the grand palace which dominates this magnificent city. Then you notice something odd. From every golden turret of the palace there flutters a long black pennant. You ask the envoy of the meaning of the black flags. Horror floods across his face as he snatches the telescope from your hands. By the spirit of the Mahan, he is dead! The Zakan is dead! As the bad news spread throughout the ship, you pray that the peace treaty will be signed and honored by the Zakan's successor. The envoy is less than hopeful. The harbor of Barakish is deserted save for a handful of citizens clad in black, and the only sound that greets you is the funeral toll of a bell that echoes around the harbor on this day of mourning. A horse-drawn carriage enters the harbor square, escorted by the cavalry of the palace guard. It slows to a halt near the gangplank of the ship, and a dour man in turquoise robes steps out to meet you. 1,000 greetings, Lone Wolf. I am Mauk. I welcome you to our city on behalf of my master, His Most Sublime Magnificent Zakan Kimah. The envoy gasps with shocked surprise upon hearing the name of the new Zakan. He turns to speak, his eyes wild with fear. It is a trap. Yes, you must. His warning is cut short by the blade of Mauk's dagger. Suddenly, scores of black-clad warriors emerge from the shadows of the harbor buildings. They are Shah Nazim, elite Vassagonian bodyguards. Quickly, they close in with their swords drawn, surrounding you on every side. You must act quickly if you are to survive this deadly trap. 3 options. You wish to make a stand and fight against these overwhelming odds, or surrender to Mauk and his warriors, or turn and run back to the galley. Well, not sure the galley will be quite useful. There are no fighters aboard the ship. We're supposed to be there to parley. Already a fight. They said overwhelming odds. And I got a tip that we should be captured at some point. I think we should start captured and break our way afterwards. Last time that we were against overwhelming odds, it wasn't really a good idea. We lost all our rangers, or nearly all of them anyway. And I think that's where we died as well in book 4. So I think we should surrender and just hope that it won't plunder all our belongings. But anyway, it was the same thing in book 1 and 2. And I think 3 as well, that we lost all our gear at some point. Or almost all our gear. Let's gamble that. Regarding the map, we're also already at destination. Over here in Barakish. You're stripped of your equipment. Your hands are tied behind your back, and roughly you are pushed headfirst into the waiting carriage. Back to the palace! Commands Mauk as he climbs aboard and slams the door. The Zakan awaits his prize. You fight to free the cords that bind your wrists, but Mauk is quick to see the danger. He grabs your arm and forces a dart into your skin. As sleep engulfs your senses, the last thing you hear is Mauk's wicked laughter, fading into silence. Wake up in great discomfort. Erase from your action chart all weapons, special items, gold crowns, and your backpack, which means everything. But note them down elsewhere in case you should find them later. If you had a dagger of Vashna, do not forget to restore the 3 endurance points you lose when carrying this actor's special item. Yay, silver lining. Every muscle of your body feels knotted and bruised. Force open eyelids clogged with dried sweat and look with dread at your wretched surroundings. You're lying on the hard stone floor of a prison cell, over by the far wall, beneath a window crisscrossed with iron bars. Is a low wooden bunk covered in filthy rags. Cockroaches, some the size of field mice, scuttle along a foul-smelling gutter that disappears into a grating in the floor. You discover that your hands are free and slowly you pull yourself upright into a sitting position, resting with your back against the cell door. A faint draught from the corridor outside provides the only relief from the stifling heat and bad air of the cell. In the distance you can hear footsteps approaching, then there is the jangle of keys and the creak of hinges. A door closes with a dull thud. More footsteps, they are getting louder. They come to halt outside the cell door and a loud voice bellows out. Sleeping on duty, Sefru? You'll wake up on the other side of this door if the captain ever catches you. The chair scrapes along the ground, and a startled voice, full of indignation, replies, Curse you, Hadij! The Zakan doesn't want the Northlander taken to the Grand Hall until sunset. You've cheated me of 2 hours sleep. Shut up, Sefru, snarls the first voice, and listen hard. I've just come from the armory. Some interesting trinkets were found on the Northlander, worth a great deal of gold, I'd say. Seems a pity to let them go to waste, eh? The 2 guards chuckle greedily and discuss at length the good time they will be able to have in the city once they have sold your belongings and divided the money between them. I'll take a peek at your friend, says one of the guards. I wonder if he's enjoying our hospitality? A spy hole slides open above your head, and you hear a gasp of shock. He's gone, by the Mahan, he'll lose our heads. You suddenly realize that you cannot be seen so close to the door. Let me see, says the other guard, eager to check for himself. Then you hear the click of a key in the lock. This could be your chance to escape. 2 options. Attack the guards as soon as the door opens, or move away from the door and stand in the middle of the cell. We'll try to escape since all our gear is just close enough. Most probably. Even without any weapons, they don't sound like really powerful or very intelligent guards, actually, so. The guards pull open the door, and you spring into action. Your clenched fist strikes the first man beneath his bearded jaw, lifting him from the floor with the sheer power of your blow. His sword drops from his hand and clatters to the ground close by your feet. 2 options, pick up the sword, or ignore the sword and attack the second guard with your bare hands. Better to take a weapon into a fight. You stoop to grasp the sword, but as your fingers are closing around the hilt, the second guard attacks. Mark the sword on your action chart. Well, I won't, because it will be a clutter, but let's remember that we have a sword. Palace Jailer, combat skill 14, endurance 21. So for the combat skill, our own combat skill should be 16. Don't have the +2 for the weapon skill. We do have +2 mind blast, so that's 18. No shield, no summer sword. No dagger of Vashna. What it means. Combat skill 18 against 14. It's a +4. We have 35 endurance points. So instead of using the random number table, we'll roll d10 for the fights. Ignore all endurance points lost by the enemy in the first round of combat, for the best you can do is attempt to parry his blow. First round is just not getting it. At combat ratio +4, we shall roll at least 3 or 4, it will be good. And if we're not trying to be it actually, we shall roll 8 or plus. One. Which means not really good. 4 damage against 0 for the enemy. Then we can fight back. Six. That's versus 10. Four is 2 versus 8. Round shall be the last. 7. So he's dead. And with us another endurance point. Alright. If you win, then the fight lasts for 4 rounds of combat or less. It lasts only 4, so we're fine. The guard clutches at his wounds and drops lifelessly to the ground. You see that the other man is recovering from your blow. He is clawing at the cell door in an effort to pull himself to his feet. The options: we can attack the guard, or simply overpower him and capture him alive. We'll try to question him. You grasp the frightened guard in a secure headlock and threaten to break his neck if he does not answer your questions. Immediately, he promises to tell you everything he knows. He says that the new Zakan fears that you are an assassin, sent by his enemies in the west. He claims to aid the new Zakan himself. He is only a simple jailer, he says, and knows nothing more. If you have the Kai discipline of Sixth Sense, we do. Let's not forget also the healing discipline. The man is lying. He knows that other guards are likely to show up at any moment. As soon as you loosen your grip, he intends to try and overpower you and then raise the alarm. Two options: we can continue to question him, or simply kill him. But I guess that if we continue to question him, well, it's not really the option to loosen our grip anyway, so ask more questions quickly, I guess. The guard begins to cough. He pleads with you to slacken your grip or he will choke to death. You reduce the pressure on his throat just a little and ask him one more question. Does he know where your confiscated equipment is? He shakes his head and gasps that he does not know. Suddenly he twists violently and elbows you in the chest. Moments later he has broken free of your grip. You are winded by his blow, but you are determined to stop him from getting away. well, a liar through and through. Your attack is both swift and deadly. Before the guard can scream for help, you have silenced him for good with a powerful open-ended chop to the side of his neck. Two options: we can leave the bodies and escape along the corridor, or search them. Let's search them. We are empty-handed right now except a sword. So a thorough search of both bodies uncovers the following items. A sword, if you not have already a sword. Dagger, warhammer, 6 gold crowns, belt pouch, and jailer's key. So let's note the jailer's key. And for the rest, doesn't matter. Sword, warhammer. Let's pick up a sword and a warhammer and 6 gold crown. I'll write down 56 actually, so we can remember that we have 6 right now, but 50 later on maybe. You may take any of the above items. If you do so, remember to mark them on your action chart. The jailer's keys can be carried by attaching them to your belt. Pausing briefly to lock the cell door, you hurry off along the corridor. The corridor heads away towards the north, but soon it comes to an end at a junction where another passage runs across it from east to west. Cautiously, you peer around the corner. To your relief, there are no signs of any guards. At the end of the east passage, you can see a flight of steps descending out of view. To the west, you can see a closed door. Two options, east or west. So east to the stairs, west to the doors. Most of the time, if we can go west or east, we take east. Can go left or right, we go left. So we can go east right now to the door. To the stairs, actually. You descend the stairs and follow the corridor eastwards, taking care to tread lightly as you go. The bars on windows set high in the wall to your right cast latticed shadows across the smooth marble floor ahead. Beneath one of these windows stands a table on which rests a pitcher of water. Your throat is parched and you stop for a few moments to take a long drink. Restore 1 endurance points. Okay, and the eating skills mean 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think we're full. Full endurance. Two options: climb onto the table and take a look through the window, or press on along the corridor. Sure, it's a really strong table, but why not take a look? From the view, you judge that this window is set high up in the south wall of the Grand Palace. Far below you can see the buildings of the capital in miniature clusters inside the wide city wall. To the southeast lies Lake Inaraim, an immense saltwater plain that is completely dry and cracked. North of the lake, a road stretches across the causeway to the town of Chula, just visible on the horizon. To the southwest lie the barren, sun-scorched Dair Mountains and the shifting ocean of sand known as the Dry Main. Lake Inaraim, the Dair Mountains, Chula, and the Dry Main over the mountains there. So we have a view in that direction, which is not really towards Summerland. But well. The bars of the window are badly corroded at the base, and it will be easy to dislodge them. However, the drop of over 100 feet to the city below means that there is no hope of an escape by this way. You climb down from the table and hurry away along the corridor. You arrive at a high-vaulted chamber with a large, nail-studded door set into its south wall. A rack standing near to the door holds a spear and a broadsword. You may take either or both of these weapons if you wish. To the north, beneath a beautifully decorated horseshoe arch, there is another passage that leads out of the chamber. Not really useful to take another weapon. We already have a sword and a warhammer. The options: we can enter the passage or descend at the door. Getting information is our best bet right now. So, descend at the door. Placing your ear close to the keyhole, you detect faint but horrible sounds. Screams of agony are mingled with hysterical laughter and heart-rending sobs. The crack of a whip and the creaking of a rack confirm your suspicions that the torture chamber lies beyond this door. The terrible sounds make you shudder and prompt you to waste no time in hurrying away from this chamber by the north door. You move quickly and quietly along the north corridor and soon arrive at another arched passageway which leads off to the west. A fiery red glow can be seen in the distance. You focus on the glow and you can detect a mixture of sounds. There is the hiss of red-hot steel being thrust into water and the rhythmic clang of a hammer on anvil. These are the unmistakable noises of a blacksmithy. You can go west towards the glow and the noises, or continue to explore north. Sure, the blacksmithy might provide better weapons. Or something else. Nice that there's a smithy just close to the prison. A forge has been constructed in the center of a massive circular chamber, and its funnel-like chimney rises up into the roof. The heat had become unbearable long ago, but now you feel as if you have walked straight into a raging furnace. Two men, naked except for small loincloth, work the bellows that feed the forge. Sweat pours from their bodies, and they frequently stop to gulp ladlefuls of water from a trough set into the stone floor. An armorer hammers a strip of red-hot iron at an anvil close to the flames. He is massive. His huge muscled shoulders and powerful chest are as wide as the other two men put together. The bellowsmen stop work and leave the chamber, one by the door in the north wall, the other by the door in the west wall. The big man pays them no attention as he continues to hammer at the anvil. Lots of options. We can follow the man we left by the north door, or the one we left by the west door, or attack the armorer who is working at the anvil, or simply leave the chamber and go back to the corridor in the other passage. Well, the armor is huge. But will he provide something or not? Well, why not leaving a trail of bodies by exiting the jail there? They're just asking for it, so... You have taken no more than a dozen steps before you are seen. The giant armorer raises a massive hammer and strides forward, a bloodthirsty snarl escaping from between his clenched yellow teeth. You prepare to defend yourself, but you are momentarily stunned when you see that the hammer is part of his right arm. It is an enormous steel fist. The armorer bellows the war cry and you react just in time. His hammer-like fist tears a chunk of stone from the wall, barely an inch above your scalp. Hammer fist the armorer, combat skill 18, endurance 30. Right now we're at 16 plus 2, 18 in combat skill, no other bonuses. So it's an even fight. It's like we're back to book 1, the stats that we have right now. We have a bit more endurance points though. Deduct 2 points from your combat skill for the duration of this combat due to the terrible heat of the forge room. Damn. Okay. So it's a -2 combat ratio. With -2, we'll need to roll 5 or 6 or more. Two. Really a bad roll. 5 versus 3. Second round. 0. Which is 10 actually. So no damage. Round 3, another one. 5 versus 2. Be a costly battle. Oh, another one. Yeah, 5 versus 18, that's right. 2. 5 versus 3. 3, a close fight. 0. Alright, no damage. And he's dead. 20 endurance points lost. Very rough fight. You're feeling weakened by the heat and the fatigue of combat, but your spirits are high after having beaten such a formidable enemy. You search the armorer's body and discover 3 gold crowns. We're at 9. A belt pouch, potion of lump spur, and restore 4 endurance point if swallowed after combat, and a copper key, which is a special item. I think we should simply drink the potion of lump spur right now. Get the 4 endurance points right away, since 20 sections without fight, I don't believe it. If you wish to keep the key, put it in your pocket and record it on your action chart as a special item. If you have the Kai discipline of tracking, we do. You detect that the west door leads directly to the palace armory. We can go to the west door or avoid the armory completely. But the armor, let's go to the armory, I guess. Let's not waste this chance. You rush through the west door and into the welcoming cool of the corridor beyond. A large drawbar on the inside of the door catches your eye, and hurriedly you pull it into place to delay any would-be pursuers. At the end of the corridor lies a hall which is full of weapons. Racks of spears and swords line its chamber's walls, and a massive workbench fills most of the floor. This is the palace armory. You may pick up a sword or spear from the racks. Not a short sword? Kind of suck to have weapon skill short sword instead of sword. In the midst of the tools that lay strewn upon the workbench, there is a large black leather-bound book. You can examine the book, or simply ignore it. Examine the book. It is an armory log. The pages contain handwritten lists of all the work carried out here. Spears and swords made for the garrison of Caracalla, or shipments from the Vakar mountains. Weapons scheduled for repair and all manner of daily routines are carefully recorded in this book. You are about to discard the log when you notice a folded piece of parchment tucked into its spine. It is a list of dates and numbers with the heading inscribed in bold print. The Bronze Door. You scan the page and locate today's date. The number listed next to it is 67. Make a note of this number in the margin of your action chart. It could prove to be useful at a later stage of your adventure. Okay. Run door 67. Throwing the book back amidst the clutter of the workbench, you now set about a search for your missing weapons and equipment. Which was the goal all along. You root through all the drawers and cupboards of the workbench, smashing locks when they refuse to open, but all you find is disappointment. These drawers and cupboards do not contain your confiscated equipment. All hope of singing a peace treaty with the new Zakan has long since vanished. Your only concerns now are to find your equipment, escape from the Grand Palace, and, somehow, return home to Summerlawn as quickly as possible. You pull aside the lattice partition and enter a small antechamber. Narrow stone steps lead up to an open door in the north wall, next to which there stands a wooden chest. You can climb the steps or investigate the wooden chest. Investigate the chest. There's bound to be some loot somewhere that is useful. The chest is seemingly plain except for a small square of red metal bolted to the top. There is no lock, but instinctively you avoid opening the lid with your hands in case it is booby-trapped. Nearby you notice a wooden bucket and a ladle. Using the ladle you lever open the chest and push back the lid. The chest itself is not booby-trapped, but your caution was well placed. Coiled upon a bed of jewel-encrusted maces sits a yas, a non-poisonous but very large Vassagonian snake. A red forked tongue flicks out of his yellow head as it prepares to defend its valuable mattress. Can attack the yas, or flick shut the lid and leave the armory. But let's kill that snake and take the jewel maces. How hard can be a snake compared to Hammer Fist the Armorer? The Yas is a constrictor. It kills its victims by crushing them to death with the coils of its powerful body. Its sleepy eyes have now opened fully, and the red-rimmed slit pupils fix you with a mesmerizing stare. You suddenly realize that the Yas is trying to hypnotize you. Unless you have the Kai discipline of Mind Shield. We do. Deduct 3 points from your combat skill for the duration of this combat. He has a combat skill of 14. And endurance of 28. Quite big for a snake. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're at 25. Still combat skill 18 in this case. So combat ratio +4. +4 combat ratio, we shall roll 3, 4 or better, and it will be quite fine. 1, a 8. No damage against 12. Round 2. A 0. No damage against 16, and the snake is dead. No damage in this fight. The great snake shudders and convulses in the throes of death. The smell of its thick brown blood is disgusting. You have to hold your breath and grit your teeth as you lift the twitching carcass of the Yas away from the chest and peer inside. You discover 6 silver-handled maces, each beautifully carved and encrusted with rubies, emeralds, and pearls. In the Northlands, these fine weapons will fetch thousands of crowns. At the bottom of the chest, you also discover a small copper key. If you wish to take either a jewel mace or the copper key, or both, mark them on your action chart. Note that this jewel mace is a weapon-like special item. It is an enchanted weapon. If you use it in combat, you may add 1 to your combat skill, or 3 when facing summon foes. You have 2 copper keys. Seems that we can take only 1 jewel mace, even if there are 6 there. Oh, anyway, the jewel mace is the +1 combat skill, +3 against the summons. Alright. So we now have actually 19 combat skill instead of 18 for now. The acidic stench of the snake's spilled blood is causing you to retch. Desperate for clean air, quickly you climb the stone steps and exit the armory by the north door. Step into a perfect hemisphere. The walls of the chamber curve smoothly towards the ceiling, where a small window casts a splash of light across the floor. There is a large circular dais in the center of the room. It is laden with incense burners, decanters, quilts, scrolls, cloaks, urns, and all kinds of fruit and sweet meats, enough for one meal. Your eye is caught by a large open drawer which protrudes from beneath the lip of the dais, and at once you recognize its contents. Thankfully, you have now found your confiscated equipment. Restore to your action chart all of the backpack items, special items, weapons, and gold crowns that you lost when you were imprisoned. If you recover the dagger of Vashna, do not forget to reduce your endurance total by 3 again. Indeed, so we're down to 22. Calculate the healing skill later. So backpack is full again with everything there. The crown back to 50. All the special items. And we get back our short sword, our axe, drop the warhammer, drop the sword. We're back. Combat skill with the summer sword. It's always better to use the summer sword anyway, unless we can't. Be sure that the combat skill is okay. 16 plus 2 for short sword. Plus 2 for mind blast. That's 4 plus 2 shield 6. Minus 2 because we're using the summer sword instead of for short sword. So that's 12. The plus 80. Okay. Ring is good. Elated by the rediscovery of your belongings, you resolve to escape from the Grand Palace as quickly as you can. Aside from the door by which you enter the chamber, there is one other. It is set into the north wall. Two options: leave the chamber by this door, or stop and search the chamber for useful items. Loot them more, I guess. Should be greedy after all this experience got in the jails. Sift through the vast number of items that litter the days, separating out the following articles which may be of use: a dagger, a silver comb, a hourglass, looking glass, prism, potion of lump spear, and enough food for 3 meals. They sound all like backpack items. Okay, let's use the potion of lump spirits after a fight, so we didn't fight anyway. Dagger, not needed. Silver comb, hourglass, looking glass, prism. The prism, suspicious. Drop a bunch of meals to get the prism. And I don't see what an hourglass will help for, but the looking glass can be helpful. Silver comb can be used to sell, bargain, thing like that. Let's drop 3 meals just to be sure. The silver comb. Big bunch of random items. Remember to make the necessary changes to your action chart before leaving a chamber. Yep, it's done. You are feeling very hungry. You must now eat a meal or lose 3 endurance points. Not the meal that we're missing here, so no problem. You follow a straight passage of pale or rose-colored stone until it ends at an empty vestibule. Into the north wall is set a great wooden door. Its surface is covered with engraved bronze plaques and studded with huge bronze nails. There is a curious lock set into the middle of this door. It is encircled by a beautiful carving of a long-tailed scorpion. A closer look at the lock reveals a series of Vassagonia numerals numbering from 1 to 200, engraved in the lock plate. At once you recognize the design. It is a Cloasian combination lock. If you know the correct number that will open the bronze door, turn now to that section number. The section corresponding to the correct answer will inform you that you have made the correct choice. Should be 67. You hear a faint click, followed by a soft, whirring sound, and then the bronze door slides open. As you reach through, the door clicks shut behind your back, as softly as it had opened. This section is the correct solution to the Cloasian combination lock in section 58. Instinct tells you that you have now entered the chambers of the Upper Palace, the sumptuous private enclave of the Zakan. You walk upon glistering tiles of opal and platinum, past sculptures and statues made from pure gold. The door of solid amethyst ahead seems plain in comparison to the breathtaking splendor of this private world. Beyond the door lies another unique and startlingly beautiful world, the Arboretum. A circular cathedral-like arena spreads out below you, its green velvet canopy alive with the sound of birdsong. Trees of every color, shape, and size flourish in the deep, dark soil of the floor. The Zakan's Arboretum houses a specimen of every tree that grows in Magnamon, and many species that are now extinct. As you walk the wrought iron balcony which encircles the Arboretum, you recognize the leaves of some lending oak. You feel a sudden wave of homesickness, but it does not make you despair. Rather, it renews your determination to escape from this hostile, sun-bleached land. At one of the exits from the Arboretum, you discover a quarterstaff propped against the wall. No need. The desire to escape urges you on as you leave the Arboretum and hurry through a network of lavish corridors and empty, deserted vestibules. You reach a landing where a broad staircase descends to a massive room which occupies most of the lower palace. From the top of the staircase, hidden by the shadow of a gilded pilaster, you stare down on a sight that freezes your blood with terror. Upon a raised platform carpeted with scarlet fur sits the Vassagonian Emperor, Zakon Kima. He is clothed in a shimmering golden robe that is devoid of ornamentation. In his hand there is an orb of black metal, and in his eye there is an ice-cold cruelty that chills your spine. The Zakan is a man of awesome countenance, but he pales in the shadow of his unnatural companion. Before him stands the cause of your terror. A helm as black as death itself hides the face, but the stench of decay and hideous sepulchral voice betray the being's identity. "Give me Lone Wolf!" It is the fell voice of one of your mortal enemies, the Dark Lord of Helgedad. As the Zakan rises to his feet, you notice a flicker of doubt, perhaps of fear, dim his cruel gaze. But he is quick to mask it. "The Kai will be brought to you at sunset in exchange for the Orb of Death, it is agreed." "You have the orb," echoes the chilling voice. "Give me Lone Wolf." The Zakan hides his fear well, but time is not on his side. He is playing a deadly game of bluff with his Dark Lord. Yet the fact that he has not yet been discovered is evidence of his powerful will. For you sense the Dark Lord is persistently clawing and probing at his mind with his psychic powers. "You will get your Northlanders, Lord Akon," says the Zakan, his voice curt with anger, "when you tell me why your servants defiled the tomb of the Mahan. You claim to have no need for gold and jewels. Why then do you plunder the graves of our ancestors?" A deathly quiet fills the hall. Only the unnatural hiss of the Dark Lord's exhaled breath disturbs the silence. 'Tis land, 'tis insignificant speck of sand, harbors two small thorns that prick our skin. We seek to remove them both forever. The fledgling Kai they call Lone Wolf is the thorn that denies us Summerland. The tomb of the Mahan hides the other thorn that threatens us, the accursed book of the Magna Kai. Your heart pounds as the words reverberate in your head. The book of the Magna Kai. Suddenly the reason why you have been enticed into a deadly trap becomes clear. The sinister truth is revealed. The Book of the Magna Kai is one of the oldest legends of Summerland. With the wisdom of the Magna Kai, Sun Eagle, the first Kai Grandmaster, was able to instill the disciplines of the Kai into the warriors of some lending descent, serving the House of Ulnar, the bloodline of your king. These skills, and your brave ancestors who possessed them, were to save your land from devastation at the hands of the Dark Lords. The Book of the Magna Kai was lost, believed stolen, hundreds of years ago, but its wisdom was kept alive by the Kai Masters, handed down through generations of some lending warriors, so that it could share the strength to resist their eternal enemies, the Dark Lords of Helgedad. If the Dark Lords should discover and destroy the Book of the Magna Kai, its secrets will be lost forever, and when you die, the Kai shall be no more. However, if you are able to find the Book of the Magna Kai and deny the Dark Lords their prize, then all the wisdom of the Magna Kai shall be revealed to you. By the power of its precious wisdom, you will become strong enough to reach the ultimate achievement for a gifted Sumlending warrior, strong and wise enough to become a Kai Grandmaster. But the perils and the glories of the quest that lies ahead are distracting you from a more immediate danger. To discover the nature of this danger and to begin your quest for the Book of the Magna Kai, turn now to Part 2 of Shadow on the Sand. See you next week. Alright, okay, Part 2. I guess that we start at 201. You catch sight of two warriors creeping towards you from a passageway to your right. They are clad in jet black armor and scarlet robes. Their hideous death mask helmets identify them as Drakarim warriors. They look like men, but were created long ago by the dark god Nahar, and are not of this world. Now they serve in the armies of the Dark Lords of Helgedad. One of them holds a razor fang Akataz, a creeping leathery war dog, straining on a chain leash. The Drakar releases his grip upon the leash, and the Akataz leaps towards your throat. Kind of rough start. Making sure we're at the right place. Or yes, it's the correct one. So two choices: either fight a war dog, or evade the attack and make a hasty escape. We're out for blood. Yagadas leaps at your face. You fall on your back, kicking with both feet at the snarling wardog. It's your chest and jolts the air from your lungs. Its claws slash your shoulder. Lose 1 endurance point. Yeah, edge of the stairs, why? Okay, before your kick send it cartwheeling over the edge of the stairs. Its howling ends abruptly when it smashes its skull upon the marble floor of the lower palace. You spring to your feet and draw your weapon. The Dracarim are moving towards you when a terrible roar of fate and rage fills the hall. Kill the Kai! As one, the evil Dracarim unsheathe their black swords and prepare to enact their fell master's command. They run forwards and attack you simultaneously. Okay, so for the healing skill, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, -1. So we're at 28 out of 2. Dracarim combat skill 18, which means a +10 combat ratio, endurance 35. Makes all the difference in the world to have the Summer Sword. Can evade his combat at any time by running into the adjoining passage. I don't think it would be required. Round 1. 4. 2 damage against 11. One again, really bad rolls tonight. We have a really good combat ratio. Four. And probably last round, 2 another bad roll. Lots of damage for such an easy fight. So all the Dracarim are dead. We're down to 18 endurance points. Should we use the potion of Lumspur right now? "14 chapters to heal back, 14 sections. I think it's time to use that Lumspur potion. Get back right away to 22. So only 10 sections to be back to full HP, full endurance. If you win this combat, 345. You glimpse the silhouette of Dark Lord Hakon in the hall below. His spiked fist is raised. There is a deafening crack when a bolt of blue lightning strikes from a stone that is gripped in the Dark Lord's hand and comes hurtling towards you. You dive for cover behind the body of the Drakkar as the bolt strikes and explodes. In a blinding flash of blue-white light, the Drakkar is gone. Only cinders and the rotten odor of scorched flesh or halted remains. You scramble to your feet and sprint along the passage. Another bolt hurtles from the hall below, tearing into the ceiling with shattering effect. Splinters of razor-sharp marble whistle down everywhere, some slashing your cloak and tunic. You race down a short flight of stairs, through a silver-sheeted archway, and along a balcony that overlooks the lower palace. A peal of bells and the crunch of iron-shod boots echo in your ears. The Zaken has sounded the alarm, and now his guards are closing in on every side. At the end of the balcony, there is another archway and a staircase. Both appear to be deserted. Two options: we can escape through the archway or race up the stairs. I'm not sure that going up is the best solution here. We need to get out, reach the streets, and get away from there. So, archway it is. You run through the archway and straight into a black-robed palace guard. You bruise your ribs and the impact throws you off balance, but you manage to grab at the wall to stop yourself from falling over. The guard lies sprawled upon the floor, yet with incredible swiftness he draws his shining steel axe and lashes out at your vulnerable legs. Pick a number from the random number table. Nine. You have the high discipline of hunting, add 2. So 11. It is 5 or higher. It is, so sounds like we're fine. You whirl your feet away from the shining steel and narrowly escape being wounded as the axe bites inches deep into the polished stone floor. However, before the guard can strike another blow, you lash out and send the axe spinning from his hand. He screams as he clutches his broken fingers to his chest. You turn and around towards an open door. The air is filled with the sound of pounding feet as the palace guard become fully alert. Together with Hakon's Dracarim, they are now bent on finding and killing you as quickly as possible. Beyond the door, a bridge rises at a slanted angle over an enclosed garden. It connects this part of the palace to a Nile-like tower of white marble. At the entrance to the bridge there is the narrow stair that descends to the garden below. Two options: cross the bridge and enter the tower, or descend the stairs. Tower is interesting, but we're trying to escape. $3.96. Check the tower. Curiosity wins. Inside the cool marble tower, 2 flights of spiral stairs converge at a landing. You detect the sound of distant running feet. The sound is gradually growing louder. It is coming from one of the spiral staircases, but you cannot determine which one. Then suddenly a band of Dracarim warriors appear. They are hurrying across the bridge which leads to the tower. If you hide a high discipline of 6 sense, do. Your Kai skill warns you that 2 palace guards are running up the spiral stairs from their guard room located at the base of the tower. Quickly, you ascend the stairs before the Dracarim enter and see in which direction you have escaped. So, climbing is really not the best option, I think, but well. The stairs are both long and steep. Gasp for breath and force your aching legs to climb, for the Dracarim are no more than a dozen steps behind you. At the top of the tower, an open arch leads out onto a platform where a huge kettle drum stands in an ornate wooden mount. This drum is used by the tower guard to send messages to the other palace towers. A bleached hide is stretched across its surface and a black wooden beater hangs from the side. We can push the drum down the tower stairs, or ignore the drum and escape. Yes, let's break everything before getting out. Why not? Take a drum. The heavy copper drum rolls from its wooden base and crashes down the tower stair, a thunderous boom echoing from the dark as it careers on a collision course with the enemy. Their screams of horror are cut short when the drum hurtles through the ranks of the Dracarim, crushing them against the hard stone steps. Your quick action has scattered your pursuers, but victory turns sour when you discover that you are now trapped. There are no other stairs leading down from the platform. You have delayed the Dracarim, but your reprieve looks as if it will only be short-lived. If you possess a rope, you can attempt to climb down from the platform. We do! We have a long rope, dating back from book 3, I think. I knew a rope will come in handy. After tying one end of the rope to the parapet rail, you drop the other end over the side and rappel down from the tower. You have reached halfway when you see two Dracarim above you. They are sawing at the knot with the serrated blades of their black swords. Suddenly, the rope snaps and you plummet backwards into the void. Damn, our rope! It was a trap all this time. Pick a number from the random number table. I think if it's 2 or lower, we die. 2. If the number you have picked is 2 or lower. Killed by a rope. For a few moments, all sense of bearing is completely lost as you tumble and spin into the void. You're unaware of what is happening to your body. You try to cry out, but your cries are lost on the wind as it rushes past. Then you hit the upper branches of a thaw tree and become totally paralyzed. By the time your broken body is found by the Dracarim, you have lost consciousness and bled to death. Tragically, your life and the hopes of Summerland end here. But we don't die here, because first, we have the crystal pendant, so we can reroll 1 die for the whole adventure. There we go. An 8. And second, if we would have died anyway, we would have taken the other option. But now, we've used the crystal pendant to save our ass. Unless both. Let's do that, but it will be surprising. You tumble and spin in a complete daze, totally unaware of whether you are falling head or feet first. The warm wind tears at your face, forcing your eyelids and mouth open. You can barely breathe. You scream with terror until you hit the upper branches of a thaw tree. In the next instant you hit water. Rapidly you surface and instinctively you begin to pump your legs. You have no idea in which direction you are swimming, but in 3 strokes you find yourself at the side of this deep sculptured pool of clear water. Still shaking from the shock of impact, you crawl your way out onto a mossy bank. Miraculously, you have escaped injury, but your ordeal is far from over. The Dracarim and the palace guards who watch you fall are at this very moment racing down from the tower and the bridge to the palace gardens. Ahead of you, beyond the tree-lined colonnade, a flight of steps ascends to a small portal in the wall of the upper palace. To your right, a leafy tunnel winds away into the trees and shrubs. You have the Kai discipline of tracking. We do. I guess that we lost our rope, but the book didn't say that we lost it, but it would make sense. I mean, it has been cut, tied. Didn't even help that it was a long rope. Your Kai sense of tracking reveals that the winding path leads into the Zakan's Arboretum, his cathedral of trees. The stairs to the portal lead to a private chamber in the upper palace, but you cannot tell what the chamber contains. You can follow that path or climb the stairs to the portal. Why not going into the chamber? Breaking everything before leaving. There's breaking and entering, but in this case it's breaking and exiting. Beyond the portal, there lies a vaulted corridor which leads to a grand stairway. You narrowly avoid confrontation with a dozen Dracarim, saved in the nick of time by your lightning reactions. As the enemy rush from an archway on the second floor landing, you dive behind a statue of the recently deceased Zakan Mudala. They are so intent on their chase that they fail to notice your hiding place and hurry down the stairs, grunting in their heavy black armor as they run. Silently, you give thanks for the fact that Zakan Mudala was a very stout man. His statue casts a very large shadow in which to hide. At the top of the stairway, you discover a hatch which gives access to the roof. You climb through it and follow a path of sun-bleached tiles that win in and out of the domes and turrets, eventually leading to a bell tower. You are feeling exhausted and need to rest. Your mind is still full of the shock of your encounter with Dark Lord Aachen. The sound of his terrible voice repeating the words, Book of the Magna Kai, echoes again and again in your mind. With desperation sapping your will, you peer out through a grey in the bell tower. The sight you see renews your flagging hope, for it inspires a daring escape plan. Below the bell tower, you see a line of Itikar pens, each with its own circular landing platform. Itikar are a breed of huge black eagles that nest in the Ares high in the peaks of the Dair and Vakar mountains. The Vassagonians have long since tamed these giants of the skies, using them as wing mounts for their army leaders, their scouts, couriers, and envoys. An Itikar and riders swoop down from out of the reddening sky and alight upon the platform nearest to the bell tower. Slaves hurl a rope to the rider who, in turn, fixes it to a saddle ring before he jumps to the ground. The Itikar caws and beats its huge wings as it is slowly winched into the pen by a hidden capstan. The rider and the slaves leave the platform. There is now only one sentry on guard at the pen. If you can overpower him, you should be able to make your escape from the Grand Palace on the back of this giant bird. If you possess a blowpipe and a sleep dart, we don't. So the other option. You leave the bell tower and make your way down towards the sentry, at first dodging from one turret to the next. It is easy for you to remain unseen. However, for the final 30 yards to the landing platform there is no cover. The platform and the palace roof are linked by an exposed gangplank. If you are to overpower the sentry, first you must cross the gangplank undetected. If you have the Kai discipline of mind over matter. Just got it for this adventure. Focusing your skill on a money pouch that hangs from the sentry's belt, you concentrate on untying the leather strap that secures it. Seconds later, the pouch drops to the ground and spills its contents. The guard yelps in horror as he sees his gold rolling over the edge of the platform, and he immediately drops to his knees to gather up what little remains. As he turns his back, you break from cover and run across the gangplank. Your speed and stealth carry you across the gangplank undetected. When you strike, the guard is still on his knees, scooping up his scattered gold. Your attack is silent and deadly. We can search a guard or ignore the guard. Let's search. You discover a little of great interest. Only 8 gold crowns, a belt pouch, and a brass whistle on a chain, which is hung around the guard's neck. May take these if you wish, but remember to mark them. The brass whistle could be useful. It's not a special item though. I'm sure it's used for riding the birds. Suddenly a noise alerts you to unwelcome company. Dracarim are rushing along the tiled pathway that leads to the pens. Without a moment's hesitation, you turn and run inside the Itikar's enclosure. The great black bird beats its massive wings and caws hoarsely in its dome pen. Two black eyes, fierce and cold, fix you with a deadly stare as you edge nearer to its perch. Grabbing the saddle pommel, you haul yourself up, but suddenly there is a flash of razor-sharp talons. Instinctively, you shield your face as a glint of orange sunlight is caught on the Itikar's curved beak. Its huge claws slash the air barely inches above your head. If you have the Kai discipline of animal kinship, we don't. That's the only skill that we couldn't master yet. You possess an onyx medallion, we don't. Possesses neither the Kai discipline nor the special item. Pick a number from the random number table. If you have reached the Kai rank of aspirant of higher, add 2. So higher is better. Plus 2, 5. It is 4 to 7. Turn to 240. Itikar are wild and vicious creatures. It can take several years for a rider to tame and train one. But once trained, the giant black eagles are fiercely loyal. As you approach, the Itikar senses that you are not his master, and furiously attacks you with its deadly beak and talons. Itikar combat skill 17, endurance 30. That's combat ratio 11. In 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 29 with the healing discipline. Fight this combat as normal, but double all endurance points lost by the giant bird, and deduct 2 combat skill unless you are unarmed or using a non-edged weapon. Can use the jewel mace, warhammer, quarterstaff, or mace. But it's better actually to deduct 2 combat skill and use the summer sword. Strike the bird, which is the plus 8. So plus 8 minus 2 instead of simply plus 1. So I guess it's 9 plus 9 combat ratio instead. When its score falls to 0, you will have subdued it enough to be able to climb into the saddle and take control. All the endurance points you lose in the combat count as wounds and must be deducted from your current endurance points total. Yeah, we don't wound the bird, but the bird wounds us, which makes sense. Round 1. A 2. 3 against 9. And a double. So that's 2 against 18. 3 against 18. One. 3 against 8, so 16. So the bird is kind of dead. If you successfully reduce the attackers' endurance point score to 0, turn to 217. Only lost 6 endurance points. That's quite a lot, actually. The Itikar fixes you with a cold black stare, but you sense that it is no longer hostile. As you settle on its wide saddle, you catch a sight of the Dracarim streaming across the gangplank. Leaning forward, you unhook the anchor rope from the saddle ring and grab the creature's thick leather reins. You are jerked backwards in the saddle when the powerful Itikar leaves its perch. It shrieks and caws, and its wings beat as loud as thunder. A handful of Dracarim is scattered like ragdolls when the great black bird emerges from its pen and takes to the sky. You catch a glimpse of a Drakkar, his death mask slashed in two by a swipe from the bird's razor-sharp talons. Shrieking in pain, he pitches from the landing platform and tumbles to his death in the palace gardens far below. The golden domes of the Grand Palace shrink away as the Itikar gathers speed. Soon you have passed over the city wall and find yourself heading out towards the shimmering salt flats of Lake Hinraim. The land below is bathed in beautiful orange twilight as the sun slowly sinks behind the Dahir Mountains to the west. Elated by the success of your daring escape, you throw back your head and give voice to a triumphant yell that is carried away on the chill evening wind. As if in answer to your cry, an echoing chorus of shrieks pierces the sky. Fear returns to your heart as you catch sight of a flock of Kran, hideous leathery winged flyers from the dark lands. Each of them carries a Dracarim warrior astride its back. They are more than a mile behind you, but they are quickly closing the gap. Less than an hour of daylight remains. If you can evade them a little longer, you may be able to lose them when night falls. You are now high above the center of Lake Hinraim, and you must decide in which direction to steer your flying mount. Consult the map at the front of this book before making your final decision. If you choose to steer the Itikar south towards the Dahir Pass or east towards the town of Chula. Our goal is actually trying to find the book of Magna Kai inside the tomb of Mahan. We don't know where the tomb is. Could be in the desert itself or in the mountains. The town of Chula, we might be able to get information if people don't try to kill us on sight. But a wise man said, if you can go east, go east. So let's go east. Sounds safer to crash into a town instead of crashing into a mountain as well. Clearly you can see the main highway that connects Chula to the capital. It crosses the desolate salt plain of Lake Hinraim by means of a causeway nearly 30 feet high. It is a useful landmark by which you can steer. Little stone houses with beaten arch roofs are grouped in small clusters along the highway, their numbers increasing as you draw nearer to the town. You are 5 miles from Chula when you notice a dark cloud hovering several hundred feet above one of the small villages. It is a cloud of Kran, and they are moving to intercept you. Suddenly, the Ithakar squeals in pain, and a splash of feathers billows out from its wing. A Kran has closed in from behind and is less than 100 yards distant. Its Dracarim rider holsters his now empty crossbow and draws his black sword from its bronze scabbard. His crossbow bolt has passed through the wing of your mount, and as he prepares to strike, the Ithakar begins losing altitude and speed. Dracarim Kran Rider Kran Claws. Combat skill 20, endurance 28. We're at 25 on our side. Plus 8 combat ratio. The Kran and its rider is swooping down on you from behind. You will only be able to fight for 1 round of combat before they are carried past by the momentum of their attack. It's a case of dealing more damage than the enemy here. It was the same as the cavalry rider in book 4. All in 1 round. 7. Good roll. Should be fine. No damage against 14. The enemy loses more endurance points. 327. Your blow has opened a wide gash in both the Drakkar and his mount. The Kran spins uncontrollably, discarding its black-clad rider as it spirals earthwards. With the terrible cries of the doomed Drakkar fading fast below, you wheel to the south to avoid being caught between the 2 converging squadrons of Kran riders. The quick change of direction increases the distance between you and your pursuers, but the Ithakar is badly wounded, and you are upon the brink of despair. Your mount is losing so much blood that it could likely lapse into unconsciousness at any moment, dropping you like a stone onto the salt plain of Lake Inraim. Then you spot something in the distance. It is an unexpected and extraordinary sight. Emerging from a bank of cloud on the skyline, you see a flying ship. It is a small craft, no bigger than an Onoram river barge, with 2 triangular sails swept back either side of its curving prow. In the fading twilight, you can make out a long pennant that flutters from its mast. A faint humming reaches your ears. Your first reaction is one of disbelief. What you are seeing must be a trick of the light or some fiendish illusion created by the Dark Lords. However, as the ship glides nearer, your senses tell you that it is not a mirage. Indeed, it is quite real. If you have ever visited the ruins of Romaz in a previous Lone Wolf adventure, we did in the first book when we saved Banadon. Standing on a fortified platform in the center of the strange craft is a young man with deep, brooding eyes. Instantly you recognize him. It is Banadon, the young Sumlending magician we gave you the crystal star pendant at the ruins of Romas, which saved us from the long rope that has been cut by the Dracarim. After you save his life in a Gayak ambush. You are so stunned by his unexpected appearance that you fail to notice the blood which is seeping from the Ithakar's mouth. The creature is near to death. Suddenly, the great bird lets out a pitiful and agonized caw. Its wings stiffen, and its head falls limp as the last flicker of life escapes from its torn body. It pitches you forward, and your stomach heaves as you plummet toward the salt plain of Lake and Ram. Pick a number from the random number table. If you possess the guide discipline of animal kinship, we don't. And it's a deduct one, so lower is better. 5. It's kind of middle-ish. If it is 5 to 8, okay, it's middle-ish. The chill air whips past your face as you tumble towards Lake Inram. The Cran Riders, the skyship, and the distant horizon all melt into a kaleidoscope of shapes and images. You fear these will be the last things you will ever see. You have prepared yourself for death and resign yourself to your fate. Then suddenly you feel your body engulfed by a mass of sticky fibers, and there is a terrific jolt which leaves you breathless and stunned. Lose 2 endurance points. Okay, we will deduct 2 here and calculate the healing discipline later. The impossible is happening. You are no longer falling but rising. You have been caught by a net of sticky strands. Like a fly in a web. You are now rising towards a flying ship just as quickly as you fell. 3 bearded dwarves, clad in padded battle jerkins, pull you aboard an outrigger that runs the length of the hull. There is no time to express your gratitude to them for saving your life, for the small skyship is under attack from several Cran Riders. At the end of the outrigger, a dwarf is locked in hand-to-hand combat with a snarling Drakkar. He is losing the battle. As you rush to help him, another of the evil warriors lands in the center of the craft, atop its fortified platform. 2 options: help the dwarf, or leap from the outrigger onto the fortified platform to fight the other Drakkarims, actually. It will be kind of generous to help the dwarf, poor guy, after saving us. The Drakkar is brutally strangling the dwarf. As he catches sight of you, he releases his grip and smashes his mailed fist into the dwarf's face, sending him tumbling away into space. Inflamed by this act of cold-blooded murder. Damn. So he's dead already. Okay. You draw your weapon and attack. A Drakkar combat skill 18, endurance 25. The plus 10 combat ratio. And for the healing skill, we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 28. Alright. Should be an easy fight. Due to the lightning speed of your attack, do not deduct any endurance points you may lose in the first round of combat. Okay, let's roll badly for the first round. Seven. Actually not so bad. No damage anyway. Second round. Damage against 12, and the Drakkar is dead. The fight tonight as well, just like book 3, I think. Book 2, that had a lot of fights. The Drakkar falls to his knees and makes a horrible rasping noise as he tries in vain to prise open his shattered death mask. Your blows have staved in his helm, and the buckled metal has fractured his skull. You lash out with your foot and kick him from the outrigger, sending him spiraling down to Lake Ram to join the dwarf he murdered. But the dwarf is neither dead nor hundreds of feet below. He hangs by his foot unconscious, snagged in the netting below the outrigger boards. You grab the dwarf's leg and hold him to safety before continuing the fight. Good job, dwarf. Good thing to have big feet, I guess. The platform now looks empty, no heads are showing above its armored parapet, but you sense something is very wrong. Instinctively, you leap from the outrigger onto the main hall with your weapon poised to strike. Ducking beneath the boom sail, you clamber onto the platform just in time to witness a desperate struggle. The magician is pinned to the deck, his left arm skewered by an enemy spear. With a staff in his right hand, he is trying to fend off the dismounted Cran rider. The Drakkar senses your presence. Instantly he whirls around and draws a twisted black scimitar from his scabbard. Drakkar, combat skill 18 and endurance 25, just like the previous one. And Banadon is in bad shape again. We had one section without fight, so we're back to 27 because of the eating discipline. Round 1. 8. No damage. Against 18. Round 2. A 9. Insta death. No damage. Alright, a quick and easy fight. If you win this combat and the fight lasts 3 rounds or less, did. The Drakkar curses you with his dying breath, his cry fast fading as he tumbles away from the platform. You rush to aid your wounded countryman, but the battle is not yet over. A Cran rider is swooping down towards you with a crossbow level at your head. He pulls the trigger and the bolt comes speeding towards your face. It is too late for you to dodge away from this deadly missile. A shrill, metallic whine rings in your ears when, incredibly, the bolt ricochets away just inches from your forehead. It has been deflected by an invisible shield. If you have ever visited the ruins of Romas, we did, so Bandon save our ass for once. Banadon lowers his staff and you detect the trace of a wry smile on his pain-racked face. Alas, I was too slow to protect myself, Lone Wolf, he says, glancing at his arm. You kneel by his side and free the spear that pins him to the floor. The wound is serious. Hastily, you staunch the bleeding with strips of cloth torn from his dark blue robes. As you are doing this, you recognize these robes, for they are the attire of a journey master. It seems that young Banadon has achieved distinction among his orders since last you met. It appears that we are fated to meet in their company, he says, still watching the Cran riders anxiously. Help me to my feet. We must escape them before they drag us from the sky. You support the magician as he grasps the ship's helm. It is unlike any other you have seen. It is a radiant crystal sphere with hundreds of glowing facets set upon a slim silver rod. No sooner has his hand closed around the crystal-tipped helm than there is a tremendous explosion. The explosion is followed by a large cloud of smoke which engulfs a cabin perched on the rear deck. As the noise rumbles across the desolate salt plain, you hear the agonizing shriek of a wounded Cran. It comes spiraling past the platform with a ragged hole rent in its broken wing. The smoke clears to reveal the grinning face of a dwarf framed in the cabin window. A smear of soot blackens his rosy cheeks and exaggerates the whiteness of his crooked teeth. He is holding a tube of smoking steel that you assume to be a magic staff, until you notice that each of the dwarf crew are carrying identical staves. As they point them at the swooping Cran, gouts of smoke and flame bellow from their tips. Suddenly you recognize these weapons and their wielders. They are dwarves from the mountain kingdom of Bor, and they are armed with firearms, one of the many inventions for which these ingenious artisans are justly famous throughout Magnamon. The Cran are terrified by the noise of the guns. Panicked, they turn their leathery tails about and fly away. Their frustrated Dracarim riders seem powerless to stop them. The primitive firearms have claimed only one victim, but nevertheless, they have driven off the enemy and saved the skyship from disaster. Banadon steers the craft about, banking steeply until the ship is facing the darkening peaks of the southern mountains and the distinct V-shaped cleft of the Dahir Pass. Pick a number of the random number table. 1. The number you have picked is too or where? No chance to reroll now, unless we take the crystal pendant of Banadon if he has one. As you watch the Cran riders disappear into the darkening sky, a roll of thunder rumbles out across the plain from Barakish. The sound is threatening and full of brooding menace. It is as if the city itself is cursing your escape. You turn away and focus your attention on Banadon, your unexpected rescuer. The makeshift bandage that binds his wound is soaked through with blood, and he looks weak and deathly pale. If you have the Kaidispin of feeling, we do. Clasping your hands around Banadon's injured arm, you concentrate your Kai skill on healing the torn muscle and splintered bone. The warmth of your healing power numbs his pain and repairs the internal damage sufficiently to be able to remove the blood-soaked strips of cloth. The wound is still open, but it is clean and your timely aid has saved the limb. "We'll hell him now, Lone Wolf!" shouts a strange voice. You are surprised by the boldness of this assertion, and you turn around to find out who has made it. Two dwarves clamber up onto the platform and hurry to their young captain's side. One flicks open a red velvet satchel strapped to his barrel-like chest and removes a glass vial and a clean linen bandage. They attend to the wound, and as his strength returns, Banadon listens intently to your account of the terrifying events that have led up to this meeting. As you conclude your woeful tale, Banadon speaks, his voice full of grim determination. "The future of Summerlawn rests in your hands, Lone Wolf. We must stop Dark Lord Archon from destroying the Book of the Magna Kai. I have heard tell of the Tomb of the Mahan from the nomads of the Dry Main. They say it is a terrible place, a place filled with horror and death. For what little there is, is left to die there. It lies beyond the Dair, near the oasis of Bal-Luftan. This is all I know, for the Mahan hid their tombs well, and what few traces remained, they've long since disappeared beneath the shifting sands of the dry main. Your face conveys the disappointment you feel upon hearing these words. However, all is not lost, says Vanadon, undaunted. There is a man who can guide us there. His name is Tipasa Daruk, or Tipasa the Wanderer, as he is better known. It is he whom we must seek, for he is the only man who has ever entered the tomb of the Mahan, and lived to tell the tale. Vanadon takes over the helm as this extraordinary ship, the Sky Rider, as the dwarves call it, speeds through the gathering darkness towards the Dair Pass. Visibility diminishes with each passing minute, until finally you can see no further than the ship's outriggers. You begin to feel uneasy. If the Sky Rider veers but a fraction of its course, you will be smashed to pieces against the mountainside. Don't worry, Lone Wolf, says Nolrim, the dwarf with the velvet satchel. The captain will see us through. Vanadon stands with his hand resting lightly on the glowing crystal. He appears to be so relaxed that you will easily believe that he is in some kind of a trance. His eyes are closed and a crackle of energy, like fine white lightning, weaves and traces an intricate pattern across his forehead and around his temples. The dwarf leads you to the cabin, at the rear of the craft, where the crew are excitedly recounting their glorious victory over the Cran Riders. They are seated about a table cluttered with plates of steaming food and jugs of foaming ale. The rich smell of spiced meat and potent boar brew fills your nostrils, reminding you of how ravenously hungry you are. You make short work of the meat and marrow. Placed before you, restore 3 endurance points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... 32 plus 3, 35, but we're maxed out right now at 32 because of the Dagger of Vashna. We're back to full endurance. However, you have your doubts about accepting a jug of ale. Boar brew is so strong that in many cities throughout Magnamon it has been banned outright for fear of the havoc it can cause. You can choose to accept a jug of the notorious ale, or simply decline the offer. I'm not a drinker myself, but Lone Wolf might be one. What can we know? Why deny the proud dwarves of their brew? Should just live the night and regret it afterwards. When we will be drunk inside the tomb of the man. The ale is thick and creamy, with a taste that reminds you of malted apples. You lower the half-empty tankard and wipe away the froth from your lips with your sleeve. Pick a number from the random number table. Never a good idea to drink with dwarves. 1. I hope low is good. If your current endurance point total is less than 15, deduct 2 from this number. If your endurance point total is above 25, add 2. If you have reached the high rank of Savant, we did, add 3. So it's a plus 5. But we rolled 1, so the total score is 6. And our total score is now 7 or lower. Sounds like a fail. And we don't have the crystal pendant to reroll drinking an ale. As long as they don't kill us, we're fine. The room is moving. At first it is barely perceptible, But in the course of a few minutes the dwarves and the cabin are transformed into a whirling blur of color. You grasp the table, your knuckles widening as you fight to control the feelings of dizziness and nausea that overcome you. Sounds seem distant, like echoes in a cave. And abruptly, the spinning stops and an unfeeling blackness engulfs your senses. You have just collapsed unconscious to the floor. Like I said, live to regret it the following morning. Shortly after dawn the next day, you wake with a splitting headache. With bleary eyes, you peer around at the snoring dwarves who occupy the tiny bunks of this cramped cabin. The low hum of the ship's engine only serves to increase the pain that throbs like a demon inside your head. It causes you to wince and grit your teeth at the slightest movement of your stiff and aching limbs. You lose 2 endurance points due to the effects of this monstrous boar brew hangover. Thanks for the heal, but no thanks, I guess. Gingerly, you gather your equipment and climb up on deck to find everything in deep shadow. The Skyrider is hovering beneath a massive outcrop of sandstone that juts from the side of a mountain. Vanadon is standing at the helm, but he is no longer seemingly in a trance. Crowned Riders, he says, pointing to a sun-bleached valley beyond the shadows. They arrived with the dawn. You stare out across an alien landscape, a mountain valley filled with thousands of pillars formed from massive and precariously balanced boulders. The pillars reach so high into the sky that an avalanche looks inevitable. The Vassagonians call this place the Coos, the Needles. Perched upon 2 of these huge rocky columns are Kran, their Dracarim riders scouring the valley with telescopes. An hour passes before they take to the sky and disappear. Trim the boom sails, Bosun Nolrim, orders Banadon, his voice barely audible above the increasing hum of the Skyrider. We've a fast run ahead! If you possess a black crystal cube. Don't have a black crystal cube. Nope. $47. The voyage through the Coos is breathtaking. The Skyrider glides between these magnificent towers of rock which rise from the valley floor with a fantastic and unearthly grandeur. Far below you can see sulphurous water bubbling from fissures in the orange ground, and streams of hissing lava carving circular channels that glow like mouths of liquid fire. You keep a watchful eye on the skies, but to your relief, you see no signs of the enemy. Karesh, says Banadon pensively, the eagle's lair. That is where we will find Tipasa the Wanderer. It is the place of his birth and the home of his family. He roams the dry main, but he always returns to Ikaresh. It is late afternoon when you reach the hills beyond the Coos that overlook the town of Ikaresh. Vanadon moors the Skyrider to a pinnacle of stone and a rope ladder is lowered to the ground. It has been decided that you and he will enter Ikaresh on foot and locate Tipasa, while Nolrim and the crew wait in hiding for you to return. The sight of the Skyrider hovering above the mountain town will likely arouse unwanted interest in your arrival. You and Banadon prepare yourselves for your mission by dressing in Maktis, the flowing grey and white robes commonly worn by the desert and mountain dwellers of Vassagonia. When your preparations are complete, you bid farewell to Nolrim and set off across the barren hills. Pick a number from the random number table. 7. It is 3 or higher. You trudge through the loose red sand, your faces covered to protect them from the swirling dust and blazing heat. The landscape is stark and desolate. All that seems to thrive here is the wire-hard grass that persistently scratches your boots and leggings. Soon you come across a dried riverbed, which leads to a cave in the orange sandstone hillside. A wooden plaque is nailed by the mouth of the cave, but you are unable to understand the strange words painted on its badly sun-blistered surface. Two options: investigate the cave, or ignore the cave and press on words and pick a random number. Not sure I like the random number part, so we should investigate the cave before going further ahead. And if it's kind of dangerous, I guess Banadon is knowledgeable in the area, I hope. So it'll warn us there's something wrong here. Rows of stalactites hang from the roof of the cave, like the fangs of some incredible monster, and the bubbling of a distant geyser echoes eerily through the unknown depths. You begin to explore and eventually reach a place where a natural bridge of rock arches over a steaming course of water, rust-red with ore. Huddled beneath the bridge is a pathetic figure of a man. His body is bent and emaciated. A tattered blanket covers his face, and in his withered hands he clutches a crude fishing rod. A small catch of lava crabs lie on the bank, their claws twitching as slowly they expire. As you move nearer, the figure raises his face to stare at you. It is the face of a man, but his visage shocks you to the core. If you have the kind discipline of feeling, you do. The old man's face is a mask of putrescent green sores. The pupils of his eyes are yellow and his ragged grey lips hang in tatters. He suffers from Vassagonia, an infectious disease that rots the skin and attacks the nerves, resulting in hideous mutilation and deformity. He has been cast from his community and banished to this cave, where he must eke out his last few years of life in misery and solitude. If you possess Oid herb, we don't. I think could have found the Oed herb inside the arboretum, but we went the other way. And I'm not sure that we will want to give that to the poor man anyway, because it's a really rare substance that will help us later down the road. But we don't have any Oed herb, so we don't have any other option than fleeing the cave to not contract that disease. You race along the rock-strewn cave in your eagerness to escape from the infected old man. The horrific stories that you have heard about Vassagonia make you careless in your haste, and you lose the last item listed in your backpack. If you have no backpack items, you lose your first listed weapon instead. So goodbye glass whistle. Anyway, I think it will have been useful with the birds. And we're done flying birds now, since we have a skyship. I don't think it's a big loss. Once you are outside the cave, both you and Banadon waste no time in pressing on towards Ikaresh. As you draw close to the outskirts of the town, you pass a small round hut where a goat is eating from a manger beside the door. A man appears in the darkened doorway and bids you welcome. He touches his forehead in a salute of friendship and invites you to enter his humble home. You have the kind discipline of 6 sense. We do. sense that the man's show of friendship is quite genuine. He may be able to help you find Tipasa the Wanderer if you accept his hospitality. Why not? Two options: enter the home, or bid him good day and decline his invitation. Let's follow our sixth sense. The man is short of stature, but broad-shouldered and strongly built. Physical characteristics common among the tough mountain dwellers of Vassagonia. He pulls a cork from a bottle of lime green wine and pours out 3 large measures into earthenware cups. "Kolshash!" he exclaims, and downs the wine in one swift gulp. Let's follow the local customs if we want information. Or we can not drink the wine and simply ask him about Tipasa, but I think it's better custom to drink the wine and ask afterwards. We know that we can hold our liquor anyway after the experience with the dwarves, so... Despite your misgivings, the lime green wine tastes surprisingly delicious. A warm glow radiates slowly from your stomach, filling you with a comfortable sense of well-being. Restore 2 endurance points. Alcohol, counter alcohol. Everything's fine, we're back to normal. We were anyway with the yelling discipline, but it's nice to know that some kind of alcohol counters the other one. The man looks delighted by your reaction to his wine, and he offers to sell you a bottle for 5 gold crowns. If you wish to buy a bottle of Kursha, pay the man 5 gold. Sure, why not? It's a bottle to restore 4 endurance points. Kind of a potion of Lum's Proof. Bottle of Kursha. And our money will be useful for something, finally. So 2 options: we can question him about Tipasa the Wanderer, or simply leave his home. I mean, the goal of going there was to question about Tipasa. "Ah, Tipasa," he replies thoughtfully. "He lives near the Duga market, but exactly where his home is I am not sure. I haven't seen old Tipasa for years. If you should find him, remind him of Kamchim the goathead. He still owes me 12 crowns, that I have not forgotten." You thank the goatherd for his help, and bid him farewell before continuing your trek towards Ikeresh. You follow a path along a dry gully. It is the bed of an ancient river that once flowed through the mountains. An arid breeze blows eddies of red dust along the banks of dead earth. After a while, the white-walled buildings of Ikaresh suddenly appear, and as the dust settles, you find yourselves standing in a small square close to the open archway of the town's east gate. Perched upon a tall basalt monolith, in the center of the square is an eagle cast in bronze. It is the emblem of this mountain town. 3 bronze arrows are held in its beak. The bronze shafts are each inscribed with a name, and each point towards a different exit from the square. You can go north to the Duga market, west the main square, or south to the Avenue of Eagles. So let's go, I guess, to the Duga market, since we got that tip the previous section. "40 paces along this street is the barracks. A long whitewashed building with ugly square windows. A soldier sits dozing in the evening sun with his spear resting across his lap. Some children are tossing hollowed-out larnuma fruits at him, trying to catch them upon the tip of his spear. Opposite the barracks stands the tavern, with a line of saddled dugas tied to a rail near the main door. The braying of these sand horses rivals the sound of revelry drifting out from the tavern door. Two options: we can enter the tavern, or continue along the street towards the Duga market. I know the guy should live near the Duga market, but it's hard to pass an option to enter a tavern and start a brawl, or be ambushed, or something like that. And it could steer us in the right direction. Maybe. As you approach the door, Banadon offers you a word of advice. Take care to guard your gold, Lone Wolf. Nothing tempts the most desperate Ikareshi more than a full purse. You can trust their honesty, but if you blindly trust their honor, they will steal the air from your head. Inside, the mood is one of celebration. Tables have been drawn together to form a large semicircle in front of which stands a small, broad-shouldered man, dressed lavishly in an embroidered costume. A gold-mounted sword hangs by his side, its blue velvet scabbard as vivid in color as the man's Cloasian silk pantaloons. Affectionately, the man embraces his companions, kissing the friends and relatives who have traveled so many miles to celebrate his wedding. At his side sits his bride, her face concealed behind a veil of shimmering pearls. Suddenly, the tavern is filled with music as the guests take the floor for the wedding dance. On the far side of the floor, you see the owner of the tavern. She's a stout old lady dressed in somber black. She watches the festivities with tears in her eyes. Well, we're here anyway. Let's ask her where is Tipasa the Wanderer. Or we can just leave and do nothing, don't disturb the wedding, but we're already there, so no. Why do you ask? She replies suspiciously, blinking the tears from her eyes. What business do you have with old Tipasa? He is a friend, replies Banadon, placing a gold crown on the tavern counter. The old woman covers the coin with her hand, expression shrewd and calculating. So Sheila is old, her memory has faded with the passing years, she says, waiting expectantly and glancing at Banadon's money pouch. He opens the flap to remove another crown, but that pouch has been emptied by a nimble pickpocket. Sheepishly he avoids your stare, his face growing redder by the second. 5 gold crowns may refresh my memory, she says, her gaze now resting on you. Why not? Poor guy. He told us to be wary of our gold pouch and he loses his own, so... You have way too much money anyway. So 5 gold crowns. Walk along the street to the Duga market. Behind the stables there is an alley. Tipasa lives there, in the house with the blue door. As you make your way through the dancing crowd to the tavern door, you take care to keep both hands on your belt pouch. An embarrassed Banadon follows in your footsteps, cursing his misfortune softly under his breath. We always do something going into a tavern. At least he lost only his gold, not his head. pass beneath an arch, where two brass-gilded conical towers gleam like gold. Beyond the arch, you discover a marketplace crowded with squabbling merchants. Exotic carpets, brightly colored cloth, and all manner of foods are being bought, sold, and haggled over. The north side of the marketplace is devoted to the auction of dugas. These sleek but noisy desert beasts are being paraded, for the benefit of the bidders, around a paddock adjoining their green-tiled stables. Just past the stables, the street vanishes away into the carpet weaver's quarter of Fikaresh. Can investigate the stables? Ask one of the merchants if they know where Tipessa lives. Or leave the marketplace to continue to the adjoining street. Not sure it's worth it investigating the stables, but we're here. Why not? Let's be tourists for a second. When you enter the stables, you are overpowered by the smell of the dugas. You grit your teeth and cover your nose with your robe. The small boy sniggers at your reaction and says, "You're not a Karishi, I can tell." He mimics your grimace, exposing a jagged row of broken front teeth. "Do you know where Tipessa the Wanderer lives?" asked Banadon, holding up a silver ring. "Come on, Banadon, we already know where he lives. Don't throw away your possessions." Damn, man. The boy's eyes nearly pop out of his head at the sight of gleaming silver. "Oh yes, I do indeed," he stammers in his excitement. "Walk up the street and take the first passageway to your left. The old wanderer lives at the house with the blue door." Actually, they both give the same information, so now we really know he lives at the blue door. Damn, man. Okay. Next time we'll throw away his robe, or I don't know, his staff. Banadon flicks the ring into the air, and the urchin catches it in his grubby hands. The urchin. You hurry away from the stables and begin your search for the passageway. Just as you find it, you hear the young boy shriek with disappointment. The seemingly silver ring has just dissolved on his finger. At the end of this rubbish-strewn alley, you find a house with a blue door. Alright, Banadon. Go on. There is no reply to your first knock. You are about to knock again when the door opens a few inches and the red-rimmed eyes of an old woman stare out from the darkness. "Banadon!" she exclaims, her voice hoarse and shaky. "Thank the gods it's you!" She ushers you both inside and quickly locks the door. The house is sparsely furnished, and what little is there is either damaged or completely destroyed. "They have taken him, Banadon! They have taken my husband! The men with the faces of the dead! 10 days ago, they came like shadows in the night!" She breaks down, her frail body racked by sobs. Banadon comforts her as best he can, but you sense that he shares her bitter loss. The Dracarim have taken Tipessa. Of that there is little doubt. By now they will have made him tell everything he knows about the tomb of the Mahan. "We'll find him, I promise," says Banadon, wiping the tears from the old woman's face. "But you must try to help us if you can. Tipessa always kept a diary of his travels. Do you have it still?" A flicker of hope shines in the old woman's eyes. "Yes, it is here. He told me to hide it in case the evil men came for him." She kneels at an empty fireplace and pries the loose brick from the chimney. A leather-bound book drops from its hiding place into her hand. She gives it to Banadon, who studies its yellowed pages, his face lined in thought. You notice that the book is full of cryptic symbols, numbers, calculations, and pictograms. "They are drawn by the night stars," says Banadon, tracing his finger along the astronomical drawings. "They hold a secret, I know, but without my star charts, we cannot hope to find the tomb. We must return to the Sky Rider at first light. There I shall be able to make some sense of this book." You get only a little sleep this night. Your mind is filled with the challenges of the quest that lies before you, and you are haunted by fears that Dark Lord Hakon may already have beaten you to the tomb of the Mahan and found the book of the Magna Kai. You rise before dawn and breakfast on a meal of sheep's butter and dry milk cake before bidding farewell to Tipessa's wife. The trek back to the Skyrider passes uneventfully, and by noon you have reached the rocky crag where the craft is moored. Nolrim is the first to greet you, but he cannot hide his disappointment that you have returned unaccompanied. Do not worry, Nolrim. The answer lies here, says Banadon, holding up Tipessa's diary. Prepare to set sail. As the Skyrider rises into the blue desert sky, Banadon hands over the helm to Nolrim and bids you follow him to his quarters at the prow. For 3 hours he pores over his charts, making calculations, checking instrument readings, and racking his brain for the solution that will pinpoint the tomb of the Mahan. It's no use, he says, tired and exasperated. I just cannot fathom these numbers. As you peer at the pages of Tipessa's diary, suddenly you realize that they are written in code. What Banadon assumes to be positions of stars is in fact a code to 3 numbers that give the precise location of the tomb. Consult the map at the front of the book to help you discover the location of the tomb of the Mahan. The first of the 3 numbers is equal to the number of oases on the trail between Ikaresh and Bir Rabalu. I hope the new map from the definitive edition is accurate. So the first number is the number of oasis on the trail between Ikaresh and Bir Rabalu. Right now we're close to Ikaresh. Okay, Ikaresh is over there. To Bir Rabalu. 1, 2, 3. The second number is equal to the number of cities in Vassagonia. Depends what they consider a city. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Too much. Check this second one. I think the old map from the original book would be better for that one. The third number is equal to the number of islands of the coast of Cape Cabar. Cape Cabar, 3 islands. So 3 something 3. So it's 313, 23, 333. Or 43, actually it goes up to 400. Damn. Okay, so 10 options. I'll need the original book, I think. Because in the old maps of the original books, the cities, towns, and villages like that have different iconography. I'll be back in a sec. Okay, so the original book doesn't have any iconography about cities, but it's clearer actually, like Tifa is a small town. It's not a city. The city seems to have flags over them. Tefa has a flag. But in the old book, there's no flag on Tefa. If I take the old book as a reference, there's Perufezan. Perufezan, yeah, there. Oh, but actually the old map doesn't go all the way to Kaziorn. I think Kaziorn is the last city that isn't on the Vassagonia side. So actually there's Perufezan, Kachek might not be a city if we take the old book as a reference. So there's Ferufezan, Tef, Karakala, so that's 3. Barakish, if it counts. And Birabalu and Birigu. Birigu isn't on this map. There's Bizutan instead. Maybe they changed the name. Or Birigu is the French name, maybe. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Or 5 is if Barakish doesn't count. Let's take a look at 353 and 363. At 53, so 63. Dive in the garden below, no. Just the old map has the 3 islands of the coast of Cape Kabar and 3 oases. Ikaresh, Bir Abalu, 3 oases, okay. 3 islands of Cape Kabar. So that's 3 the number of cities. When you think to solve this puzzle correctly, you will need to use the map with the above code instructions in mind before coming back to the section. You may have noted the number of cities already in this adventure. Really? I missed that somewhere. 3-digit section corresponding to the correct answer will state that is the correct. No. Okay. Just the envoy at the beginning says something about that. I didn't remember there was that part. Book. Port backs. Being with pride, Yanzu, blah blah blah. Port backs, break, no. Time aboard, language on the last lands, for many sailors and ramparts, beaming with pride, blah blah blah. Golden around the valors of. Nope. The envoy didn't live really long, really. Kind of died right away in the first section. There anything in the appendices? Further informations. There's a big chapter on Vassagonia. The Magnamon Archives. Veraki, Sharnazim. Rakarim, Akon, Basai Daruk. Kar, Quaraz. Okay, there are monsters afterward. Basai Daruk. Information there in the section about Tipasai Daruk. read the section about Vassagonia. This huge desert empire located south of the Lastlands takes up most of the eastern coastal area of northern Magnamon, a fertile band of land bordering the Kuri Sea between the coastal cities of Kachek and Ferufazan. So Kachek counts as a city and Ferufazan as well. So that's 3 with Barakish. Ruled by an emperor known as the Zakan, Vassagonia has one of the most powerful regular armies in Magnamon. Feared for its redoubtable war beast and siege weaponry, its many nobles and governors also maintain strong private forces. Oh, the Vassa family is ruling the 7 great cities. Barakish, Kachek, Ferufazan, Karakala, Birabalu, Bizutan, and Tef. So, the big ones there. Bizutan, Birabalu. The southeast. Kachek and Ferufazan. Up there. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 with Barakish. 6 with Tef. Karakala, 7. And that's it. Where did I get the over 9 from before? Kajern isn't there. All the cities with a flag, in other words. Well, the small ones have flags too there. But I think in the old book they don't all have flags. Ferufazan, Tef. Karakala. Well, Kachek doesn't have flag in the old book. 4, 5, 6. That's why I've stopped at 6 in the old book. Kachek doesn't have a flag. So anyway, it's 373. I don't remember how you can get that in the old book though. I guess somewhere along the way they said the 7 great cities of Vassagonia, and I didn't really catch that. So the answer is 373. That's it! Exclaims Banadon, stabbing his finger at a map of the dry main that covers his chart table. 115 miles due west of Bir Rabalu. 115 miles due south of the oasis of Baloftan. Picks up the Kulk pen and marks the spot. The tomb of the Mahan. This section is the correct answer to the cult puzzle posed in section 331. You study the map and ponder the miles of desolation separating you from your goal. Banadon notices your look of dismay and quickly tries to put your mind at ease. So, 115 miles due west of Bir Rabalu. 150 miles here. That's about there. And 150 miles south of the oasis of Baloftan. Whichever one it is. Might be that one. I guess. Oh, somewhere there. In the desert. Fear not, Lone Wolf. We'll be there before the dawn. You smile at his confidence, but it is not the actual journey that worries you. Your concern is what you may or may not find upon your arrival. Dawn is breaking on the horizon of a low hill that is blurred and dotted with small tufted trees. Swiftly the Sky Rider has voyaged through the night to arrive at the foothills of the Konishi Mountains, in whose folds the skyship is safely tucked away from watchful eyes. 25 miles to the north, across a landscape of barren rock and dry brush, lies the tomb of the Mahan. Set off with Banadon before the dawn, anxious to waste neither time nor the protective cover of the darkness. Now, as the grey golden disk of the sun climbs in the sky, for the first time you are able to see your goal. The massive excavation has exposed the heart of this scorched land, delving deep around the tombs of its forgotten ancestors. So I guess that we're up there somewhere. Thousands of Giaks, spiteful and malicious servants of the Dark Lords, labor unceasingly to remove rock and sand from this quarry. They are forced by Dracarim to drag their back-breaking loads up ramps to the rim of the crater. Close to the edge of the crater, an encampment of black tents surrounds a large dome canopy. Lying in the shade of this construction is a huge flying creature, an Imperial's land beast. Its presence here can only mean one thing. Dark Lord Hakon has arrived. The thought of the Dark Lord's presence here chills your blood, but you draw some comfort from the labor of his Giaks. That they continue to labor is a sign that their mission has yet to be completed. The Book of the Magna Kai has yet to be found. It is impossible to approach a crater unseen. You will have to wait for darkness before you dare make your approach and attempt to enter the tomb. During the long wait, it is agreed that Banadon shall try to find Tipasa. It is likely that he is being held captive somewhere inside the encampment. It seems improbable that Hakon will have killed him before discovering the treasure he has traveled so far to secure. During the day, you must eat a meal or lose 3 endurance points, or 2 if you have a canteen of water if you choose to drink now. We don't have any of that, so it's a meal, I guess. The only one we kept for that specific moment. You possess the charisma of hunting. You are unable to make use of it in the desert wasteland to satisfy your requirement for food. As night falls, your desperate quest begins. The Giaks pose few problems that you cannot overcome with your basic warrior skills. For these creatures, they've been overworked to the brink of complete exhaustion. Only the Dracarim show any sign of vigilance. But even so, there are less than a dozen patrolling the rim of the entire crater. Not until you reach the main entrance to the tomb do you encounter any real challenge. A Drakkar stands on guard by the entrance, his cruel eyes glinting behind his twisted iron death mask. Occasionally, he diverts his attention from the watch to take a drink from a water flask. If you have the high discipline of mind over matter, we do. Focus your skill on a nearby spade, willing the handle to rattle against the wheelbarrow in which it rests. It only takes a few seconds for the vigilant Drakkar sentry to leave his post and investigate the suspicious noise. By the time he returns, you have entered the tomb of the Mahan. For as far as your eye can see, a perfectly straight sandstone corridor slopes away into the distance. Torches crackle and splatter on the walls, illuminating pictograms engraved in the yellow stone. At regular intervals, rough-edged slabs protrude into the main corridor. You step to take a close look at one of these slabs, and the floor beneath it, and come to a frightening conclusion. They are traps, set of no doubt by the GX when they cleared this corridor of sand. Rather than instructing the GX to avoid them, the Dark Lords must have deliberately used their slaves to trigger them. Once the traps had been sprung, the squashed bodies were cleared away and the slabs chiseled through to the next section. Pit traps in the floors seem to have been neutralized in the same way. Set up by luckless GX, they have been filled in with their dead bodies and leveled off with sand. The thought of this artless barbarity fills you with a sense of renewed revulsion for the Dark Lords and their kind. Just over a mile along the corridor, eventually you arrive at a large stone door. The stones around bears evidence of recent chisel work, but the door itself is rock solid. You notice a faint beam of light descending from a hole in the ceiling. It creates a small circular pool of light, a little to one side of a similar hole in the floor. In the wall near to the door, there is a triangular indentation. It is about the same size as a gold crown. If you possess a prism, and afterward he asks for a bluestone triangle. And we have both, actually, but the prism is a backpack item. Let's use the prism and lose it if we can. Holding the prism in the center of the beam, you divert the light towards the hole in the floor. There is a sound of stone grating on stone as slowly the door opens to reveal a large chamber. It is dimly lit, but in the dust that covers its marble floor you can see footprints too numerous to count. As you enter, you catch sight of a rough stone throne that is facing the wall on the far side of the chamber. Behind you, the door slides shut with unnerving speed. The throne begins to revolve. As it turns, a terrible howling fills your ears. It changes and transforms into the growling of a harsh guttural language, the likes of which you have never heard before. Words and sounds that the mouths of men could never be shaped to speak rolled through the chamber like thunder. It is the Dark Tongue, spoken by Hakon, Lord of Arnak, Dark Lord of Felgedad. He rises from the throne, the ghastly voice still echoing from his unnatural mouth. A spiked fist opens to reveal a glowing stone. Blue flame smolders around its surface, and you can feel currents of power radiating from its core. Suddenly his words change, and now you hear a tongue you know well. He is speaking, some lending. Look on your doom, Kai whelp! There is a deafening crack, a sudden surge of power, and a fireball of blue flame leaps from the stone and comes hurtling towards your face. If you possess the summer sword. We do. You raise your golden sword just in time to deflect the bolt of raw energy. It screams from your blade and explodes into the chamber wall, gouging a hole several feet deep in the steel-hard rock. The impact jars the summer sword from your hand. The blade arcs through the dust-choked air and embeds itself upright in the stone floor. Hurriedly, you roll across the floor and take cover behind a pillar. Your doom, Kai whelp! Spits Hakon, is but seconds away. If you wish to try to retrieve the summer sword, or you can choose to move to a new hiding place. Under cover of the swirling dust, or stay hidden where you are. I'm not sure staying hidden where we are is the good play here. The summer sword sounds like a trap, but we can't do anything without the summer sword against a Dark Lord. I think it's the way to go. If we can reach the summer sword for the next attack, we're fine. If not, we're doomed, like he says. You run, half crouched, towards your golden blade. Grab its hilt and then continue at full speed towards the cover of another pillar. A burst of energy leaps from the Dark Lord's fist and explodes the base of the pillar, severing it completely from the floor. A tremendous roar fills your ears as you are thrown backwards by the shock of the blast. Lose 3 endurance points. Akon's unnatural laugh rises above the tremendous crash of falling stone, growing louder and louder until your head is filled with an agonizing pain. If you have the Kai discipline of Mind Shield, we do. I think it's the first time that it's really useful. Suddenly, the pain subsides, but the onslaught has only just begun. A mist as black as the grave is seeping from Dark Lord Akon's mouth. It creeps along his outstretched arm and settles like a malevolent cloud in the palm of his upturned hand. Whirling shadow shapes draw into focus. Wings and tentacles sprout and take form. A curse in the dark tongue shakes the whole chamber, and then a deadly flood of horror hurtles from his hand. If you possess the dagger of Vashna, and you wish to use the dagger special item, turn immediately to 286. Not sure if it's really a good idea. I guess it is. Try it out. You draw the dagger of Vashna from your belt, and blue flame courses the length of its twisted blade. The flood of crypt spawns soars upward towards the ceiling to avoid you. They recognize the power you wield and are in terror of it. Akon himself stands in awe, unable to accept that you are brandishing the weapon of the entity that dominated him centuries ago. Weary of using the accursed dagger, you sheath it, preferring instead to rely on the godly power of the Summer Sword. Good job, dagger. You raise the Summer Sword and will the Divine Blade to discharge a bolt of power that will burn this evil Dark Lord from the face of Magnamon forever. The blade shimmers with golden flames, but no searing blast issues from its tip. Suddenly you realize what has happened. You are in a subterranean location and there is no sun that the sword can draw upon to charge its unique power. Akon utters a terrible laugh that shakes the floor. A beam of blue flame is growing from the stone in his hand, forming a fiery blade that cackles and spits as it parts the dust-choked hair. The stench of death and decay fills your nostrils as the Dark Lord prepares to launch his assault. Dark Lord Akon. Combat skill 28. Endurance 45. And it's been really a bunch, or 2 or 3 sections since the last fight. Since the last damages, actually. For the healing skill. The crypt spawn we didn't fight. And there's a fight there, so it depends on 268. Run half crouch, so no fight in the last 3 sections. We're back to full endurance because of the healing skill. And we're at combat skill 28, so it's an even fight against Dark Lord Akon. Unless you have the Kai discipline of Mind Shield, reduce your combat skill by 2 for the duration of this combat. Akon himself is immune to Mind Blast, so we have 26 combat skill instead of 28. It's a -2 combat ratio fight. the last fight of the night, the boss fight. Try to make it count. We really need to roll high there. The -2 and the difference in endurance, which is 13. We saved the fight because of the Dagger of Ashness, so it's a good 3 endurance points paid there, I think. We need a discrepancy of 13, so... Can we last 13 rounds? Nope, impossible. Not with 4, 5. We need to roll 6 or higher most of the time to win this fight. Venom doesn't help. Oh, yeah, right. I think he went to find Tipessa. Right. Oh, damn. 1 to start. Really a bad start. So, 5 against 2. Round 2. An 8. Okay, it's better. 1 versus 9. 6 against 11. We have 5 here. Endurance difference. 6, that's 2 against 7. 8 versus 18. Difference. Oh, 2 is quite bad. 5 versus 3. Another 1. Nine, way better. No damage. 14 to go on our side. 12 to go on the enemy side. After 6 rounds of combat against Dark Lord Hakon. 7th round and 8. 1 against 9. That roll was a really good one that gave us the edge here. So I think that Hakon will die in next turn. It depends. We need to roll at least a 2 to kill Dark Lord Hakon on the next turn. And if we roll only a 1, the fight continues for another round. It's a 9 again. Victory. Dark Lord Hakon is dead. No damage. Pretty hard fight at the beginning, but the tides have turned towards the end. 989. We examine the floor, where Dark Lord Hakon fell, but there are no signs of his body to be found. The atmosphere is strangely calm and peaceful, as if a great and evil shadow has been lifted from this place. If you lost the Summer Sword in the confrontation with the Dark Lord, you may now retrieve it. Did we? I think not. Just making sure I did the fight right. You retrieve it. Yeah, right. You turn around and walk the throne where Hakon sat waiting for you to appear. Beyond it lies a portal, an ancient inscription carved deep into the blood red stone. Below the carving is set the impression of a human hand. Instinct and intuition guide your hand to the door. The carving fits around it like a glove. Silently, the portal slides back to reveal your destiny. The Book of the Magna Chi. Set upon a pedestal, the book lies open, its secrets revealed to your eyes alone. As you lift the sacred book, the very air throbs with the vibration of the force locked within its sun-gold cover. With a pounding heart, you take the book and hurry from the chamber. By the time you reach the foothills of the Koneshi, Banadon has successfully completed his mission. He and Tipasa are waiting for you. When they first see you appear, clutching the Book of the Magna Chi, they can barely contain their excitement. This night of triumph, says Banadon jubilantly, will herald a new dawn of hope for Summerland. The Kai shall be reborn. Your quest is now completed. You have found the legendary Book of the Magna Chi and freed Magnamon from the evil shadow of Dark Lord Akon. But for you, Kai Master Lone Wolf, this story has only just begun. Your destiny lies upon the path of the Grandmasters. Master their secrets and attempt to fulfill the first exciting quest of the Magna Chi in the first book of the Magna Chi series, The Kingdoms of Terror. So that was the Kai series of Lone Wolf, Definitive Edition by Joe Dever. The next one is the Magna Chi series, books 6 through 12. But books 11 and 12 have just been released last month, I think, in hardcover edition. The paperback edition isn't released yet. Books 6 through 10 are released right now. I already have book 6 actually. But book 7 has a supply problem in Canada right now. It's only available by import in the UK. I don't know why, because book 6 is fine, but not book 7. Books 8 through 10 are available as well in Canada. I've scored every bookstores I could find online. Amazon doesn't have it. Other bookstores doesn't have it. Don't have it either. So my only option is to buy it off from eBay, which is kind of costly, or buy it off from Amazon by importing from the UK. So right now I'm waiting to find the way to get the paperback edition of book 7, Castle Death. And I'm kind of stuck. I could actually play the book 6 next week, but I will stop there since I don't have the book 7. So stopping the Magna Chi series after only one book is kind of pointless. So I'm waiting right now to have the opportunity to order book 7 in Canada. Maybe when books 11 and 12 in paperback edition will be released, there will be a book 7 as well. To release at Amazon collection from books 1 to 5 in paperback editions a while back after all of them were released. So I'm hoping that books 6 through 12 will be available as well in a kind of collector's edition of the paperback edition. If not, I'll try to find it somewhere else. I think that there's not many information about the paperback editions online, but I think the books 11 and 12 might be released in paperback edition at the end of the year or beginning of next year. If I look at the differences between the shipping orders for the hardcover versus the paperback when they were available on Amazon, each edition. So right now, I don't know when I'll be able to continue the series with the Definitive Edition Magna Chi books. I don't want to read the old books and switch back and forth or read them twice. So I'll be awaiting book 7 and buy them all out when they'll be released. I hope end of the year, beginning of next year. In the meantime, since we're not ready yet to play our next tabletop RPG campaign. The current group, which is not set in stone right now for one of the campaign, hasn't decided yet on which kind of system we're going to use. Will it be Dungeons and Dragons or something else? Maybe Shadowrun or I don't know. So they're currently debating this and trying out. So I'll add a little bit of French there. Donc pour ceux qui écoutent également en français, pour la prochaine campagne de jeu de rôle qui devra avoir lieu. Pour l'instant, les joueurs sont en train de réfléchir à quel système ils vont utiliser pour la prochaine campagne, du moins pour le premier groupe qui est plus ou moins complet. Il risque probablement peut-être d'avoir un peu plus tard un deuxième groupe avec une deuxième campagne. Ça restera à voir avec les disponibilités des gens qui seront disponibles à ce moment-là. Donc, dès que le système va être décidé pour la première campagne, que ce soit D&D ou autre chose, à ce moment-là, on va commencer à la préparer. J'espère bien d'ici la fin de l'année. Non, entre-temps, je vais continuer à faire autre chose à la place de la soirée de Tabletop RPG. Puis également des livres de Mangakai en anglais. Je pense pas switcher en français vu que ça va très bien avec les gamebooks. Puis je les ai pas tous encore lus en anglais nécessairement. Donc, il y a un peu de novelty de mon côté à les faire en anglais, surtout des livres comme ça de mon enfance. Donc, pour l'instant, en attendant que la prochaine campagne soit prête, en attendant que je trouve les éditions paperback au Canada du livre 7, je vais continuer autre chose en anglais avec des gamebooks. Donc, je vais switcher en anglais maintenant. So what I'm saying is next week will be a different series, but kind of a really related series. I will be reading the first book of World of Lone Wolf by Ian Page and Joe Dever. It's a series of 4 books in the world of Lone Wolf, but without Lone Wolf. It stars instead Grey Star the Wizard. So next week will be book 1 of the series, which is named actually Grey Star the Wizard. So we'll look forward to it. In French, for people that knows the series, it was named quite differently. It was named Astrodor in French instead of Monde de Loup Solitaire ou quelque chose du genre. So next week will be Grey Star the Wizard. Awaiting book 7, Castle Death, whenever it will be available in Canada. So Amazon, go for it. Import it from the UK, please. I don't want to pay duty import fees on this book. So see you next week. Same channel, same time.